Hey, Sirisha.
Hey, Sarah.
Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you can join us today. We are here with Sirisha Bandaru, one of the first people in our New Year's series featuring co-op owners that share their family recipe with our community. Sirisha, to start us off, would you be able to tell us a little about yourself and how you found the co-op?
Sure. Hi, Sarah. Hi everyone. I'm Sirisha Bhandaru. Um, I've I'm from India and I grew up in. I'm a South Indian. I'm from Andhra Pradesh, and I grew up in Bombay and in Andhra. All my growing years, but I have think lived in Champagne a lot more years than have lived in any one place till now, and it's become my home now. And the co-op, I've heard of the co-op ever since I've come here. I've been here for 16 years now, and I've heard of it, but I never went to it when it was in a basement, right?
Yep.
Lincoln Square Mall. So I didn't go there then, but ever since you've opened at Lincoln Square Mall, I visited the co-op. I would go to the farmers market, and then a trip to co-op would always happen then, and I've been coming there ever since.
But no, we're lucky to have you, and you've been a teacher at the co-op for a really long time. Ever since I've been working as an education coordinator here. Would you share, some of the folks watching maybe have attended your classes, but for those that haven't, will you kind of give us um, a give us a view into some of the classes that you used to teach at the co-op pre-COVID?
Yeah, sure. My first class, I remember very well. It was with Anna, and that was the khichdi class. So it was very basic, one of the easy and simple recipes using lentils and rice and vegetables. So that the khichdi was there. Then pav bhaji. It's like a vegetarian sloppy joe. It's a spicy curry with buttered buns, street food, very popular in India. So that was there. Then I think I did a class on flatbreads too, like Indian flatbreads, rotis, parathas, stuffed flatbreads, and restaurant style curries. I remember
Mm-hmm.
we did one on North Indian curries, South Indian curries, and then last year I think we did malai kofta.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that was so good.
And then again, I think there was an introduction to South Indian breakfast foods, just a variety of different breakfast foods in South India. Then chaat, I think we did aloo tikki chaat as well. So my cooking is basically Indian vegetarian cooking, and that's what I have been teaching to at the co-op. And I
Yeah.
absolutely love doing those classes, and I miss them so much.
Me too. I miss them, and I miss you would make the whole store just smell so good. And I remember actually we did the pav bhaji class almost a couple days before lockdown
Mhm.
happened in March. So we definitely missed your classes here. I'm sure a lot of the folks that attended the classes are also missing our cooking classes, but as soon as it's safe to do classes again, we'll have you back right away. But we thought we would in the new year, we thought we would find a way to share some family recipes, and we are going to be featuring three of your recipes that you've shared. Would you talk about the three recipes you shared and how they have that special significance to this time of year? And
Yeah, sure. So actually, tomorrow is a big festival in India. It's called Sankranti. It's also called Pongal, Lori. It's celebrated all over India, and it goes by different names in different places. It's basically it's a harvest festival. It's a celebration of also it's a celebration of in honor of the sun god, and it also marks the end of the month with the winter solstice. So it marks the beginning of longer days and days with more sunlight. So it's a lot of different things that are celebrated at the same time. And the customs and traditions for celebrating it also vary across the country, but there's a lot of rejoicing, especially in the farming community. So by this time, the winter harvest is kind of done. So the farmers are happy, they're more relaxed. Their families, if they've gone to, if they're working in cities, they come back home and they're all, the family kind of reunites and they have a big celebration then, they honor, they have different days also, like every state does it differently. In some states, they will honor the bulls and the animals that are used in farming as well. So
Oh,
they are
wow.
dressed up and they are prayed to and people offer them food and other offerings. So all these are there as part of the festival, and this is the time we get new rice, and also there's jaggery. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of jaggery is used. Jaggery is basically very unrefined sugar. It's just sugarcane juice that has been boiled and reduced. And so it's a very pure kind of sugar. So that is what is used. So the recipes I have shared, one of them is called Pongal. It's also the name of a dish and the name of this festival. And there are two varieties that are usually there. One is a savory version and one is a sweet version. I've shared the savory version. So Pongal is made with rice and moong dal, traditionally mung beans, the yellow ones, not the
Mm-hmm.
ones, it's the tiny yellow ones that have been, basically they have been husked, or the outer covering has been removed and washed and dried. So those are the yellow mung beans. And just to offer a substitution here, because the red lentils are a close substitute. So I've shared the recipe of the same dish using red lentils that can be easily made at home. And Pongal is very much like a khichdi. So it's like a porridgey. It's a very comforting rice dish. It has very few spices and ghee, which makes it really yummy. And it is usually served with many different accompaniments all across India. You could eat it with a raita, you could eat it with a chutney. What I have shared here is a family recipe. It's my mom's recipe. It uses tomatoes. It's like a tomato stew.
Yummy.
So it's just tomatoes that have been cooked in a little bit of water, and it is thickened. And then we add a few spices and something called a tadka. In Indian cooking, I don't know if you've heard of tadka dal.
I
Tadka,
haven't.
tadka is basically any fat, like ghee or some good, say, good oils. They are heated up a little bit, like a couple of tablespoons of oil are heated up, and then you add spices. You add asafoetida, you add cumin seeds, black pepper, whatever, different spices and herbs. You warm them up, and then this is added to your dish. So we add this tadka to the tomato stew that I mentioned. It's also added to the pongal that I mentioned. The ingredients vary, depending on the dish you're cooking and the state you belong to or the region you belong to. But almost all, the essence of Indian cooking lies in that seasoning, And
Yeah. Is it kind of like
very,
a tempering?
yes,
Like a
yes,
tempering spices and then
yes.
adding that with the
Mhm.
oil like midway through or closer to the end?
Usually at the end or at the beginning. We
Mm.
in my language it's called teragamuta, which basically means you kind of add the tempering and then you invert the lid and close it. So it's it retains the aromas and keeps the dish very fragrant. So
Sounds so good.
that's what is added in that. And there are lots of sweets made at this time, and mostly they are all very simple ones. They are made with sesame seeds and jaggery and sometimes peanuts. And
Mm.
the reason behind doing this, of course, like I said, jaggery is freshly available. There's new, it's harvested, it's there. And sesame seeds are very warming in nature. And so it's a good time, winter, it's still cold, it's not yet warmed up. So this is a good time to consume sesame seeds. They're rich
Yeah.
in calcium, And with jaggery being, it's the way it is processed. It's processed in iron molds, so it gives you a iron also. So you get calcium, iron, protein. So that way, it's a nice treat, but also it's good for the body.
Oh yeah, that sounds so great, and yeah, it makes sense that when you mentioned the rice has just been harvested, you have fresh rice and the fresh jaggery. Why not make dishes that are incorporating those for the festival? That's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a really festive time, nice time.
That's awesome. It's so cool to learn about that. I hadn't known about it before you introduced it. Are there any tips or tricks? You wrote some awesome uh, descriptions and step-by-step directions on how to make each of these dishes, which we'll share in the blog on our website. But are there any like quick tips and tricks for those that haven't made it that will be trying it out?
Um, sure. Say you're trying the pongal, that's a savory khichdi-like dish. It's good to just use a little bit of coarsely crushed black pepper. And when you're warming the ghee to, toast them, get them to nicely splutter and, release their aroma. That's when you add these spices. And
Okay.
it should be a nice flowing consistency, not too thick, not too thin.
Yeah.
Maybe kind
Ooh.
of like how grits,
Mm-hmm.
like it's more like a porridge. So if you are making it ahead of time, I would really suggest that you add some water and warm it up, or make it a little runny, so that even if it over time it'll get a little bit thick.
Awesome. That's great.
And for the laddus, like the sweet dish, if you are not very familiar with using sesame seeds, the way I have used them in the recipe, you could half the amount of sesame seeds and add other nuts. You could add cashews, you could add almonds,
Mm.
peanuts, any of those nuts would be nice. So it doesn't taste too strong. And sesame seeds have a lot of oil in them and their own fat. So when you grind it, if you grind it at a very high speed, it'll become like a paste. So it's good to slowly pulse a few times and then incorporate other ingredients, pulse them together, and then add your sweetening agent, and then get it all together to mix well.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. Otherwise, it turns into like a tahini almost.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and you mentioned that with the tomato stew, how do you pronounce it? Is the pulus?
Pulusu. Pulusu. Yeah.
Pulusu?
Mhm.
And you said that's your mom's recipe. Did she learn it from her mom, or were there people in your family that you learned how to cook from?
Oh, my cooking, it's heavily influenced by my grandma and my mom. So I have always loved cooking, and I would follow my grandma around in her kitchen. I've seen, like the traditional utensils that they use, and I'm very familiar with all that. And it used to be an honor, like when I was a little kid, she would give me small tasks like peeling cardamom pods so that they could crush them. So even getting assigned those tasks would feel very nice. Later on, learning to handle the dough and those kind of things. So I started from there, and lot of things I just picked up from my mom and from my grandma. Whenever we visited, I would spend all my time with her.
So
Whether she
that's so
liked it
wonderful.
or not, it must have been very annoying. But
Oh,
the
that's
moment 4,
wonderful.
4 a.m., they had their routine. They would wake up at 4 a.m. I would be there. I would wake up at 4 a.m. I would watch her make
Oh,
coffee in the morning, go pluck the flowers for her, everyday routine. I would just follow her around.
wow. Those are such good memories. And what better person to learn how to cook than your grandma or your
Yeah.
mom?
And
That's
also,
super sweet.
like my parents, my dad had a job where he had to move from one place to the other. And so they have lived all over the north, and my mom has friends from everywhere. So a lot of my mom's friends, they were a big influence in my cooking as well, because I learned um, dishes from other states through them, not only from my region but from the north, some from other South Indian states. In fact, the first thing that I ever learned to make independently was a paratha. That's from Punjab. It's not my state, it's from the north. I used to love
Wow.
it so much that, that auntie, she just called me home and she said, I'm making it today, you can learn from me. And that's how I learned. And I loved it absolutely. So that more than making any of my dishes from my family or my state, the first thing I made was for what she taught me.
That's awesome. Yeah, and India is so huge. I can imagine how many different cuisines you've probably learned just through different family members or friends from those areas. That's super special. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Has there been so since I saw you last, it was in March. Have you been making anything regularly through COVID to kind of get you through?
Lots of comfort food.
Yeah, same.
Lots of sometimes easy meals too, like one pot meals. A lot of different types of khichdis where the lentils and the vegetables will change every time. Lot of that, lot of just regular home cooked food. And yes, of course, my son, he loves pizza, so we used to do every week homemade pizza.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. Yeah, Arhan, your son was in he was kind of one of the staple attendees
Mm.
for the cooking with kids or kids cooking classes that we offered. So I'll
He
be
loves
excited to see him again once they'll start back up.
Oh, we'll be there. The first class you announce, we'll be there.
uh, Sirisha, thank you so much for this, for talking and sharing about these dishes. And I hope the next time that we do something like this, it might hopefully be in person. But we'll keep everybody who's watching. We'll keep sharing Sirisha's recipes because they're always delicious.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, and yeah, I hope you have a wonderful festival celebration, and we'll definitely be sharing the blog of your 3 recipes so that people can make it at home with co-op ingredients. And yeah, I'll make sure to I'll be making it this next week too. But yeah, thanks so much, Sirisha. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.